group uploaded this video for BS English students. Dr. KHALID MALIK is the founder of Applied Linguistics Groups and he has a PhD in Applied Linguistics TESOL. He published more than 25 research papers. He taught a lot of foreign universities and presently admitted to a postdoctoral study in a Canadian university. Join Applied Linguistics Group at youtube.com/@1966 Pakistani or copying, or downloading a QR code to join at.
Animals lack language, a controversy. Animal languages are forms of non-human animal communication that show similarities to human language. Animals communicate through a variety of signs, such as sounds or movements. Signing among animals may be considered complex enough to be a form of language if the inventory of signs is large. The signs are relatively arbitrary, and the animals seem to produce them with a degree of volition, as opposed to relatively automatic conditioned behaviors or unconditioned instincts, usually including facial expressions. In experimental tests, animal communication may also be evidenced through the use of lexicograms by chimpanzees and bonobos. Many researchers argue that animal communication lacks a key aspect of human language, the creation of new patterns of signs under varied circumstances. Humans, by contrast, routinely produce entirely new combinations of words. Some researchers, including the linguist Charles Hockett, argue that human language and animal communication differ so much that the underlying principles are unrelated. Accordingly, linguist Thomas A. Sebiok has proposed to not use the term language for animal sign systems. However, other linguists and biologists, including Mark Hauser, Noam Chomsky, and W. Tecumseh Fitch, assert an evolutionary continuum exists between the communication methods of animal and human language. Language is considered to be a very complex form of communication that occurs among the human race. It is a set of verbal and nonverbal conventions that humans use to express their ideas and wants. Humans use words while talking to express their needs and wants, and they cry, slouch and make faces when they want to express feelings. Animals, or in other words non-humans, also show signs of communication, such as a dog wagging its tail when excited or a bird singing a song to attract the opposite sex. However, do animals have their language? Scientists are still unsure about this question. Researchers say that animals, non-humans, do not have a true language like humans. However, they do communicate with each other through sounds and gestures. Animals have a number of inborn qualities they use to signal their feelings, but these are not like the formed words we see in the human language. Human children show these same forms of communication as babies when crying and gesturing. But they slowly learn the words of the language and use this as form of communication. If human children were separated at birth away from humans, they would not learn the words of the language, and would not be able to communicate with other humans. They would resort to sounds and gestures as their primary form of communication. However, in the animal kingdom, if they are reared alone from birth, they are still able to behave and communicate in the same way as other species of their kind. So what about animals such as dogs that understand commands or birds that can talk? Dogs can be trained to follow certain commands such as sit, come, and roll over. But does this mean they understand language and therefore can use it as well? Dogs are known to be experts at reading their owner's intentions and that they do not respond to actual words, but the tone in which it is said. So if you say, bad dog, in a cheerful tone, the dog will wag its tail. If you say, good dog, in a harsh tone, the dog will put his tail in between his legs. Birds that are in captivity are known to be able to talk. It is believed that it does not mean anything to them and they are merely copying sounds they hear. There is no doubt that animals communicate with each other to one degree or another in response to different stimuli such as hunger or fear. Human language is creative, and consists of unique characteristics that give us the ability to engage in abstract and analytical ways. So can it be said animals do not have a true language like us humans, since we use language for a variety of things other than just communicating simple needs? It is a matter of opinion and extensive research in the area. Those are fighting words in the fields of animal and linguistic research. A lot of people are emotionally invested in the idea that language is the one thing that makes human beings unique. Language is sacrosanct. It's the last boundary standing between man and beast. Now even this final boundary is being challenged. Kon Slobarchikov at Northern Arizona University has done some of the most amazing studies in animal communication and cognition, using sonograms to analyze the distress calls of Gunnarson's prairie dog, one of 5 species of prairie dogs found in the US and Mexico. He has found that prairie dog colonies have a communication system that includes nouns, verbs, and adjectives. They can tell one another what kind of predator is approaching, man, hawk, coyote, dog, noun, and they can tell each other how fast it's moving, verb. They can say whether a human is carrying a gun or not. They can also identify individual coyotes and tell one another which one is coming. They can tell the other prairie dogs that the approaching coyote is the one who likes to walk straight through the colony, and then suddenly lunge at a prairie dog who's gotten too far away from the entrance to his burrow, or the one who likes to lie patiently by the side of a hole for an hour and wait for his dinner to appear. If the prairie dogs are signaling the approach of a person, they can tell one another something about what color clothing the person is wearing, as well as something about his size and shape, adjectives. They also have a lot of other calls that have not been deciphered. Dr. Slobarchikov was able to interpret the calls by videotaping everything, analyzing the sound spectrum, and then watching the video to see what the prairie dog making a distress call was reacting to when he made it. He also watched to see how the other prairie dogs responded. That was an important clue, because he found that the prairie dogs reacted differently to different warnings. If the warning was about a hawk making a dive, all the prairie dogs raced to their burrows and vanished down into holes. But if the hawk was circling overhead, the prairie dogs stopped foraging, stood up in an alert posture, and waited to see what happened next. If the call warned about a human, the prairie dogs all ran for their burrows no matter how fast the human was coming. Dr. Slobarchikov also found evidence that prairie dogs aren't born knowing the calls, the way a baby is born knowing how to cry. They have to learn them. He bases this on the fact that the different prairie dog colonies around Flagstaff all have different dialects. Since genetically these animals are almost identical, Dr. Slobarchikov argues that genetic differences can't explain the differences in the calls. That means the calls have been created by the individual colonies and passed on from one generation to the next. Is this real language? A philosopher of language might say no, but the case against animal language is getting weaker. Different linguists have somewhat different definitions of language, but everyone agrees that language has to have meaning. Productivity, you can use the same words to make an infinite number of now communications, and displacement. You can use language to talk about things that aren't present. Prairie dogs use their language to refer to real dangers in the real world, so it definitely has meaning. Difference between humans and animals. We have often heard how plants are different from animals, how animals are different from humans, how plants are different from humans, and so on. No doubt, animals and humans are way too different in various aspects. Humans are the only living beings on Earth who have the freedom to make decisions for themselves. Animals do not enjoy such liberty. Animals live in a food chain, while humans do not follow any particular chain. There are various differences between humans and animals. Let us look at some of the fundamental differences. S.No. Humans. Animals. 1. Humans are often called as Homo sapiens. This is the species that we belong to. On the other hand, animals have a number of species. 2. Humans are omnivorous beings, i.e., they can eat both vegetarian and non-vegetarian foods. Animals can be carnivorous, herbivorous, or omnivorous. Animals like lions and tigers are carnivorous, survival on meat. Animals like a cow, sheep are herbivorous, survival on grass, and animals like bears, cockroaches are omnivorous, survival on both vegetarian and non-vegetarian foods. 3. the weight of a human brain is 1.2 kgs. The size of the brain varies to the size of an animal. For instance, the brain of a blue whale weighs 6.90 kg, while the brain size of an earthworm weighs 170 to 180 micrometers. 4. Humans have the ability to reason upon certain things and are driven by instinct, intellect, and logic. Animals cannot reason, but they are only driven by their instincts. 5. Humans are bipedal, i.e., they walk on 2 legs. Animals are quadrupedal, i.e., they walk on 4 legs. Apart from aquatic animals and snakes, all animals walk on their 4 legs. 6. Humans can express themselves to each other as they have a particular language to speak in. On the other hand, animals converse with each other, but they do not a particular language ton converse Indiana. They lack the expressiveness of a human language. 7. Humans have the ability to turn any kind of environment according to themselves. Animals are incapable of changing the environment. Therefore, they can either adapt to the environment or die. 8. Humans have various ways of survival and sustenance. Animals are only dependent upon nature. So, they do not have any other means of survival. So, these are the key differences between humans and animals. Humans have become much more advanced and know several ways to survive and sustain themselves. Animals do not have such survival techniques, and therefore, they are only dependent upon nature for food. We have the ability to speak the complex language, use our logic and intellect to reason. But animals only do their actions based on instincts. Well, it is interesting to note that both humans and animals primarily use their instincts to figure out certain things. One of the most important differences between humans and animals is that we have the power of imagination. We are capable of changing the situation and environment according to our wishes and favors. But animals lack this power of imagination, and due to this they are incapable of changing environments. They are primarily dependent on nature for their survival. Well, it is interesting to note that chimpanzees are called as the human animal. This is because they are the smartest animals on the planet. They are capable of doing certain things that other animals are incapable of. On the other hand, animals like koala bears, sloth bears are the slowest animals on the planet. Well, apart from the differences, humans and animals are also similar in certain aspects. So, let us look at some interesting facts about them. Humans and animals have the ability to pick and choose their social groups. Just like humans, animals also choose their groups based on their preferences. Humans and cows have similar sounds. For instance, the human sound of hum and the animal, cow, sound of moo is quite the same. Just as humans, some animals tend to be homosexual. For instance, in the animal kingdom, sheep are mostly considered as a homosexual animal. Sheep is probably the only animal who is homosexual. Both humans and animals depict their emotions through a tone or sound. Humans and animals have an interdependent relationship. For instance, humans who pet animals are provided with emotional support, comfort, and security. Animals are a kind of stress reliever in our lives. Chimpanzees are quite the same as human beings as they have certain abilities as humans. Chimpanzees are considered as the smartest animals in the animal kingdom. So, these are some similarities between humans and animals. Well, there is one more interesting fact to know, that a leech has 32 brains and a hagfish has 4 hearts. These are 2 distinctive and vivid species of animals in the animal kingdom. Humans and animals have various differences, but they also have certain similarities. The differences and similarities are already mentioned above. Humans and animals are interdependent. If we pet animals, love them and provide them food, they will provide us affection, security, love, and care. Thus, both humans and animals have certain similarities, despite having several differences. Applied Linguistics Group uploaded this video for BS English students. Dr. KHALID MALIK is the founder of Applied Linguistics Groups and he has a PhD in Applied Linguistics TESOL. He published more than 25 research papers. He taught a lot of foreign universities and presently admitted to a postdoctoral study in a Canadian university. Join Applied Linguistics Group at youtube.com/@1966 Pakistani or copying or downloading a QR code to join at